I'm using the Canon M200, which is a lovely little compact camera that you can change the lenses on, but the only thing about this camera is it doesn't have a sound input. So in order to improve my audio, I'm now using a Zoom H2n recorder. Very, very versatile, not just for voice, but many other things as well. The H2n is dead simple to set up and use. Simple menu, very clear, and just one push on the record button and you're off. There's no standby, nothing. You just set it up and go. It records both in WAV and MP3. 96 kilohertz too, very high quality. It has onboard limiting and compression, which is really useful. The difference between the two is that the limiter just basically cuts the top of your peaks off so you can raise the general audio volume. With compression, it does it in a more subtle way, but I'm going to say a little bit more about that compression later. But what makes the Zoom H2n different from other recorders is the fact that it's got these different recording modes, which are very useful for videographers. This is the sound of the H2n in the mode that I probably use the most, and that's a mono mode. Basically, it's called the mid-side stereo mode, but by turning off the side microphones, you're in effect getting mono. So this is the sound that you get from the front, this is the sound from the side, this is the rear, back to the side, and there's the front. Now I can instantly change this microphone into a stereo microphone by just turning on the side microphones in the mid-side stereo mode. That way it'll pick me up left and right, so if I move around it will pick it up. At the moment it's not, and also it'll pick up a little bit more of the room. I can also adjust how much of the room it picks up as well. Now that literally took me seconds to do. The sound will now alter as I move around. So now I'm on one side of the microphone, I'm on the other side of the microphone, and the sound is possibly wandering around. So for speech, you want to switch it into mono. You may have noticed that I'm talking into the back of the recorder, and that's because this has multi-microphones. It has some in the front for stereo, one in the back for mono, and two in the sides to add stereo, and you can have the whole lot going if you want to get surround sound. So that's the sound of this microphone in stereo mode using the mid-side arrangement. A flip of the switch on the top, and I'm now talking into the front of the unit. Now I'm using the XY mode. This is two microphones on the front at 90 degrees, giving me stereo. So on this side, I go to this side, you can hear me moving over, go to this side, you can hear again me moving over. This mode is useful for when you're recording, say, two people and you want them either side of the recording. So this is the stereo XY mode. It's kind of different from the other mode, the mid-side mode, in that the mid-side mode will pick up a little bit more perhaps of your surroundings, whereas this will focus more in the front. So this is the XY stereo mode. Another flick of the dial on the top again, and we're now into surround sound. So I've got front microphones working, rear microphones working, and the sides being picked up too. The surround sound can be mixed down into either 2-channel stereo, or you can mix it down into 4-channel. And there's nothing, of course, to stop you plugging in your own microphone straight into the side of this. And if you want to isolate yourself, then there's nothing better than using some kind of shotgun microphone. You can use a stereo microphone if you want to. At the start of the video, I mentioned compression and limiting, and there is something that you need to know about compression on this machine. What happens is when you stop speaking, the compression brings up the silence, so it almost sounds like you've got an automatic gain control going on, and it can be a little bit annoying. So I don't think I would use the compression on this unit at all, on the H2. The limiting works really well, but compression brings in a little bit of noise. Now I've got the compression switched on the H2, and in between the gaps in my voice, when I stop between sentences, the noise levels come up and go down again. It's almost like an auto gain. So if I leave a gap, and if you've got headphones, that would probably help you to hear it. There's probably a little bit of hiss, and then when I speak, the hiss goes down again, just again. And then I speak and that's it, it's gone down again. So the compression levels are probably a bit too high, and I've got this on a general compressor. It's got different presets rather than you're able to set it yourself. So you haven't really got much choice. So this is what you get if you use the compressor. So for me, I don't think I'm going to be using that. I'd rather compress it in post anyway when I've got a little bit more control. There's also a limiter on the H2, but all that does is it doesn't change the sound, it just stops you peaking and it cuts the peaks off. The Zoom H2 is capable of very high quality recordings. It's got a really nice variation of recording methods, mono, stereo and surround sound. Its inbuilt mics work really well and they're not too noisy either. It's dead easy to use and it's got a great display. It is actually a nice looking unit, but the build quality gives me the impression that if I dropped it, it would probably crack. Also, the back of it's very shiny, so I think it's a fingerprint magnet. For some reason, battery life on it seems to be really good. For me personally, I think I'll be using it more for ambience and use the surround sound, but for me, mixing it down in the unit to stereo, because the unit will mix it down to stereo for you and you capture lots of ambience and then you can control it in your videos. I'd say that's its unique feature, especially at this price point. Cheers for now.